For the timpani etude, there's one specific rhythmic motive that comes back throughout the entire etude, and that's what some people like to call the timpani etude. And it's timpani, timpani, so it's that dotted 8th, 16th, 8th rhythm that comes back. And it even comes back at moments when we don't think it does. When we have what looks like a duple or a 2 written over 2 8th notes, it's still bringing back that idea of subdividing the 3 16th notes from the downbeat and the upbeat. So it's important to make sure that your timing for the timpani rhythm is consistent throughout, so practice with a metronome. Make sure you're subdividing those 16th notes in your head, 1 and 2 and 3. And same comes when you do those duples, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1 and 2 and 3, wherever you decide to place it, as long as the timing is perfect, because it comes out throughout, and you want to have that connection between that rhythm for the entire etude. Typically, the timpani rhythm, several performers, they tend to crush that 16th note and put it a little closer to that 8th note afterwards. So it's more of a timpani, timpani, a little choppy and not quite as even. So make sure you're really listening to yourself, record yourself, check how you're playing that. Another thing that'll help with that too is making sure that you choose the right sticking for that motive that comes back throughout. If it's an ascending pattern with that rhythm, I like to use a left, left, right, left, left, right. The few times that it happens descending or in between different drums, I do a right, left, right, but the majority of the time it is ascending. So thinking about that sticking and the timing will really help make sure that that rhythm is correct the entire time. The tuning for the timpani etude this year is on the upper register of the 2 middle drums. And so it's very important, first of all, that your drums can actually reach the pitches, and also make sure that they're not just barely reaching those pitches either. So make sure that we're able to go a little past what's expected for the etude, so that we can comfortably adjust as you're playing. It's also important to make sure that the timpani heads themselves are in good condition, that they also have been cleared, and feel free to seek out some additional help from a teacher or a local college instructor that might be able to help you with that if you need help with that, because there's nothing worse than working so hard on playing the excerpt or the etude and executing it so well, and the drums themselves not being in tune, and you can't go beyond that, and that's a really important aspect of just timpani playing in general. Along with that would be making sure that our strokes are always producing the best sound that we can get out of our drums, that we're not playing too harsh, too heavy, too down into the drum. The louder notes, the louder dynamics and the accents, we need to make sure that we're pulling that sound out, and the stick is coming right off, so that we don't play into the drum and get a splatty sound on the drum. Likewise, on the softer passages, making sure that we have control of our sticks with the slightly more firm grips, that we can get those articulate, soft passages with a lower stick height while still producing a good sound. So mallet choice is also very important to help achieve the loud dynamics, the soft dynamics, the articulation that's required, as well as the wonderful melodic lines, the slower notes that we have throughout the etude. So we do want to make sure that we don't go too soft on the spectrum of timpani sticks. We also don't want to go too hard. So we do want to choose a more staccato type stick, but something that isn't too hard, that we still have some cushion, so that we don't disturb the beautiful melodic lines that happen in the middle of the etude. The consistency of your sound throughout this etude is important at all varying dynamics. So when we play on the softer side, we do have to use some double sticking to accommodate what's been written. So it's important to make sure that we clearly hear both notes, soft and loud, while we're doing those doubles. Also, pay careful attention to your movement around the drum. If I'm reaching over for a low drum, the tendency is going to be to kind of ghost that note and not get a full, strong sound coming out of that drum. So it's important to watch out for that too, and really use your ears in making sure that every sound is exactly how you hear it in your head. I recommend singing through the etude, not only so you get the pitches in your head, but also so you can hear the line and where you're expecting it to go. And as soon as you don't hear that in your practice session, you can adjust and make sure that you're truly playing what you want to hear. the two tuning changes that happen in this etude, it's important to make sure that you do keep track of time. We have 6 bars for the first tuning change, but it is only in 2, so it goes a little bit quicker than we might think, and you do have 3 drums that you need to change. So it's important to make sure that you are still counting while you're playing. I suggest what I do in preparation for the next section, I sing the next bar that I'm going to be playing, and I will sing that 6 times over and over and over for each measure of rest while I'm tuning my drums. I also plan that I try to get 1 drum done in 1 measure. I try to get the 2nd drum in another and the 3rd, and then that gives me some other time to relax and make sure the tuning's there. If something goes wrong, I can adjust and fix while I'm still singing that rhythm or the next measure in my head, so I can still keep track and make sure I come in time. Another tool that you can use is to utilize your friends. Get a buddy and have them come in with a metronome, and they can keep track, they can keep counting for you. But do make sure it is with something very static and stable, so that they do help make sure that you come in right on time. Because of the quick tuning changes in this etude, I suggest sitting down on a stool so that you can have both feet ready to go to start tuning quickly, and you don't have to worry about shifting your weight from one foot to the other, and it helps just tuning go a little bit quicker, in my opinion. But also, using a stool while sitting down helps ensure that my playing spot is going to be consistent throughout. There are some pretty tough passages in here, quick movements across the drums, all 4, and while sitting, that helps make sure that my playing spots will hopefully be a little more consistent than if I was standing, where I can slightly lean to the left and be playing a little closer to center at one point. And so that for this etude, I definitely do suggest sitting down on the stool. When thinking about the accents and different articulations that we have throughout this etude, it's important to have a defined technique that you're going to be doing to actually get the appropriate sound, and so that we don't overplay the drums and we don't get a sound that is superficial, but we actually get that true sound that we're trying to aim for, what we hear in our head. So it's important to think about when we need to use a more controlled stroke, shorter, more control from your fingers versus a little more use of the arm, a little weight from the arm as well, that can also add to that depth and fullness for some of the accented notes versus the non-accented notes, the lighter notes for more articulation. I wouldn't use quite as much arm for that. So it's important to really know and be aware of what your arms, what your fingers, what your wrists, what all of those are doing for the different types of articulations that you're going to be getting in this etude.